Have you ever looked at your life and thought, why do I feel like I'm falling apart when I'm still technically holding everything together? Because on paper you're coping, you're getting up, you're going to work, you're sorting the house, you're replying to messages, remembering what everyone needs, holding the family together, showing up, functioning, but inside you feel mentally overloaded, emotionally exhausted, snappy, anxious, flat, and like one more thing could push you over the edge. And that can feel incredibly confusing when you are the kind of woman who has always been the one who manages, the one who gets on with it. Just because you are functioning does not mean you are okay. And so in this video, I want to talk to you about high functioning women and why they feel so overwhelmed in midlife, and why this can feel like it comes out of nowhere, and why it may actually make so much more sense than you realise. Because once you understand what is really happening, you can stop blaming yourself and start responding to yourself with far more compassion. One of the hardest things about this kind of overwhelm is that it often goes completely unseen, because high functioning overwhelm does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like doing everything but feeling resentful, getting through the day, then collapsing at night, forgetting little things because your brain feels full, snapping over something tiny and then feeling guilty, feeling touched out, talked out, emotionally done, craving silence, space and rest, and not ever getting enough of it, lying awake exhausted because your body is tired and your mind won't switch off. And because you still look like you are managing, people often do not realise how close to capacity you actually are. That is one of the loneliest parts, because people see your competence, but they don't always see the cost of it. And so many women in midlife are paying an enormous emotional cost to keep themselves appearing okay. Why midlife hits differently. Midlife is not just a stressful time. For many women, it is a pressure point, a collision point, a season where lots of things begin happening at once. Hormone shifts, sleep changes, your nervous system feels more sensitive, relationships evolve, children need you differently, parents may need more from you, grief may surface and your body changes. Your identity starts shifting, and often there is also that inner voice that says, what about me? That can be deeply unsettling, because for many years, many women have coped by being adaptable, responsible, self-sacrificing and strong. But midlife often becomes the season where your system says, I cannot keep overriding myself anymore. And that is often your body and mind saying, the way you have been surviving is no longer sustainable. You may not just be tired, you're carrying an invisible emotional load. And I think this is one of the most underestimated reasons why women feel so overwhelmed, because it is not just what needs doing, it is also who needs me. What have I forgotten? Who is upset? What is coming up next week? What is everyone else feeling? What needs smoothing over? What needs fixing? Holding together? That is exhausting, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally and neurologically. I go into more detail about this in my last video, so if you're interested, please stay till the end, where the link will appear to watch this next. You are not simply doing tasks, you are often holding the emotional atmosphere of your home, family, relationships, and sometimes even your workplace. And when you have done that for years, it can create a very specific kind of depletion, the kind where you do not even know what you need anymore. It just means you have been living in a state of chronic outward focus for a very long time, and eventually that catches up with you. Why your nervous system feels like it has no buffer. A lot of women in midlife say things like, I feel more anxious than I used to. My tolerance is so much lower. Everything feels too loud, too much, too demanding. I don't feel like myself. And you are under prolonged stress. You are sleep deprived, emotionally stressed, hormonally shifting and carrying too much for too long. Your nervous system can become much more sensitive. So things that once felt manageable can now feel completely overwhelming. Not because you're weak or dramatic, your system is overloaded. And when your system is, there is no buffer. And that is when a small request feels enormous. Noise feels unbearable, clutter feels mentally aggressive. Being asked, what's for dinner, feels like too much. One more message, one more favour, one more demand feels like it might tip you over the edge. And if you have had moments where you think, why am I reacting like this? Very often the answer is because this is not about this one moment. It's an accumulation. It's the build-up of too much output and not enough recovery, and your body will always tell you the truth eventually. Many high-functioning women were taught to override themselves. This is where it often goes deeper than hormones or stress alone, because many high-functioning women were consciously or unconsciously taught from a young age to be good, be responsible, be helpful, not too much, not need too much, keep the peace, hold it together, make life easier for other people. And so they become very skilled at pushing through, suppressing needs, minimizing distress, being fine, staying useful, earning value through what they do for others. And again, this can look incredibly capable from the outside, but inside it can create a pattern where your worth becomes quietly tied to how much you can handle, how much you can give, and how little support you need in return. And that is a very painful way to live over time, because eventually the woman who everyone sees as strong becomes the woman who has no idea how to stop, no idea how to receive, no idea how to rest without guilt, and how to let herself matter too. Midlife often exposes that. It brings you face to face with the coping strategies that once protected you, but may now be exhausting you. It's why so many women feel guilty for feeling overwhelmed. This is such a huge one, because a lot of women do not just feel overwhelmed, they feel ashamed that they are overwhelmed. They say things like, I should be able to handle this. Other people have more going on than me. I've got a lot to be grateful for. Why am I struggling so much? And I really want to say this gently but clearly. You can be grateful and overwhelmed at the same time. Those two things coexist. You can love your family and still feel emotionally exhausted. You can be successful and still feel depleted. You can have a good life and still feel like you're drowning inside it. And if you are overwhelmed, that does not mean you are failing at life. It often means you have been carrying too much for too long without enough space, support, rest, or emotional replenishment. And often what women need most in this season is not more pressure to do better. They need permission to stop being so relentless on themselves. 7, maybe you do not need to try harder. Maybe you need to live differently. This is the part I think many women need to hear, because when high-functioning women feel overwhelmed, their first instinct is often to become even more efficient, to organise better, to plan better, push harder and get on top of things. But if your life is built around over-functioning, self-neglect, people-pleasing and carrying too much, then becoming better at coping is not necessarily the answer. Sometimes the deeper question is, why is so much sitting on my shoulders in the first place? That is a very different conversation, because sometimes what needs to change is not your productivity, it's your pattern. The pattern of always being the one who absorbs the impact, who stretches, who adapts, who says yes, who keeps going. And it's not always easy to change, but midlife often asks women to stop performing strength and start building a life that actually supports them too. That might mean saying no more often, not over-explaining boundaries, asking for help, letting things be good enough, resting before you break, disappointing people a little, taking your own needs seriously. And I know for some women that can feel deeply uncomfortable, but discomfort is not always a sign that you are doing the wrong thing. Sometimes it's a sign that you are doing something new, something healthier, more honest and more self-respecting. What support actually looks like. So if this video is landing for you, where do you begin? Firstly, tell yourself the truth. Not, I'm just tired. Not, I'm being silly. Not, I need to get a grip. But something more honest, like I am overwhelmed. I am carrying too much. I need support. That honesty is powerful, because the moment you stop minimizing your experience, you create the possibility for change. Secondly, ask yourself, What is draining me the most right now? What am I tolerating that is quietly exhausting me? Where am I overgiving? Where am I leaving myself out? Those are powerful midlife questions. And thirdly, start small. Not a total life overall overnight, just small moments of regulation and return. That might be just sitting in silence for 5 minutes, going for a walk, breathing deeply instead of rushing to the next task and saying not today without guilt, letting something wait, resting before you have earned it. Because I really want to say this, rest is not something you earn by collapsing. You are allowed to take care of yourself before you hit that breaking point. And if this overwhelm is deep, persistent or emotionally heavy, please do not carry it alone. Support matters, counselling matters, therapy matters, being witnessed matters, because so often women have spent years being the container for everyone else without ever being properly held themselves. So if you have been feeling overwhelmed in midlife while still trying to keep everything going, I want to leave you with this. Maybe this season is not asking you to become stronger. Maybe it is asking you to become more honest about your limits, about your needs, more honest about what this version of you can no longer keep carrying. Because being high functioning does not mean you are thriving, and being overwhelmed does not mean you're broken. Sometimes it simply means you have been surviving in a way that is no longer sustainable, and the realization, although painful, can also become the beginning of healing. So if this spoke to you, I would really love to know in the comments what part of this hit home most for you. And if there is another woman in your life who looks like she is coping on the outside but maybe struggling underneath, send this to her, because feeling seen can be incredibly healing. Take gentle care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video.